Hi and welcome to Tutorial68 in this series of tutorials that focus on TradeStation EasyLanguage. If you're not part of our email list, then please go to Markplex, that's markplex.com, and join the list there. And also if you want to email me, you can find my email address there as well, and that's probably the best way of contacting me. So in today's tutorial, I was asked by one of the people on the list if I had any tutorials that were involved in creating a channel based on the high and the low between certain specific times. So you can see on the screen at the moment I've got a mini DAO set up, and what I've basically done is set the start time at 6, the end time of 9, and what we've done is we've drawn a channel, literally 2 lines between these 2 times that encompass the high and the low during those times. And then what we've done is set up some alerts so that should the price go above the top line or below the bottom line for a time up until a new channel is set the next day, then we will get an alert. So I want to explain how to do this, and what I've already done is created a blank show me study here. And so the first thing we need to do is just create 2 inputs that we can use for the start time and the end time. So let's just do that, start time, and we'll set that for example at 8 and initially, and end time. So these are user inputs. The user will be able to type in specific times that they are interested in, and then having done that, we need to set up a little if statement. So what we say is if time is less than or equal to end time, and t is greater or equal to start time, in other words that the current time is between those 2 times that we've set up as user inputs, then what we're going to do is we're going to say begin, and we're going to say if high is greater than, and we're going to set up a variable called period high. I'll do that in a second, but if high is greater than period high, then period high equals high, and if low is less than period low, that should be period low, then period, and this is wrong as well, period high. Okay, so then period low equals low, and we're going to set that to, put the end statement in there. Okay, so what we now need to do is just make sure we've got variables for the 2 things that store the period high and period low, and we're just going to create those here. Period high, I'm going to set that initially to 0, and period low. Now period low, we actually need to set this to an arbitrary high number, which I'm just going to set at 999999999 or whatever that is. Actually just 6 nines, I think. And the reason for that is if we set period low as 0, then the low is never going to be lower than 0. So period low is always going to show 0. So we need to do that. Okay, so having done that, then what we need to say is if the time is greater or equal to end time, and time 1 bar ago, it's 1 in the square brackets, is less than the end time. What we're also going to do is just do this on the last tick of the bar. So I'm going to say bar status round brackets 1 equals 2, and you can just right click bar status if you haven't come across that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to draw some lines and set up these levels. So the upper line, I'm going to create another variable for that, and I'm going to call it upper line ref equals TL new, and we're going to say between today's date. Now incidentally, in this I've assumed that the start and the end time are on the same date, and also that the end time is after the start time. You might wish to check for that in your program, but we're not doing that here. We're going to keep it as simple as possible. So we're going to call this start time, and we're going to go from period high, which is the thing that we've just found, to the date, the time, in other words at the end of the period, period high, which is the level. And again, if you're not familiar with TL new, you can just right click that and see what that does. And then we're going to do the same thing. In fact, what I'm going to do is, just to save time, is just going to copy this, and I'm just going to paste it there, and I'm just going to change that from upper line ref to lower line ref, and the times are going to be same. This is going to be period low and period low. So what we're doing at the end of, so what we're doing is, if we look at the chart on this bar here, which is the end time 9, we're saying if the time is equal or greater than the end time and the previous bar was less than the end time, then we know we've got to the end of our channel, and we can now draw the lines because we know what those levels are, and that's exactly what we've done there. But we need to do a couple of other things. Now, if we were to just leave things as they are at the moment, then the period high and the period low would never be reset. In other words, we would only get a new period high registering here if the high was higher than a previous period high. That's not what we want. We want to re-evaluate what is the period high of the period each day. So what we need to do here at this point is say period high equals 0 and period low equals, and then we just need to set it as this sort of arbitrary number. I'm just going to copy that and paste it there so that we've reset them, and we can now say end. Okay, I'm just going to verify this, but before I do that, I just must remember to first of all correct some spellings here. Period low, and also we need to create some new references, and I will do that here, or rather some new variables, and to do the same for upper line ref and lower line ref, otherwise we would get some errors. And I think, okay, keep on spelling period incorrectly. I'm just going to check that. I think we're okay. I'm going to press F3 to verify, and everything is fine. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is apply this to a chart. Okay, I've now applied the Show Me study that we just created to a chart, and what I'm going to do now is just change the inputs. So we'll do it, say, between 5 and say 7, so that we can see them, and just type in the times there and say OK, and we should see some lines between those two times, which we do. Now the next thing that we need to do is make sure that we set some alerts, because the point of this thing is that subsequently throughout the day, if this imaginary line is crossed, then we want to trigger alerts. So let's just go into the program and I'll show you how you add that. So the first thing we need to do, because we're resetting this period high and period low, we actually want to remember what the period high was throughout the until it's reset at the end time, or just after the end time. So what I'm going to do here is create a new variable. I'm just going to actually copy this. So I'm going to say new period high. So this is a new variable that we're creating, equals period high. Okay, something went screwy there. So what I'm doing is I'm just saving that value before we reset period high, and we need to do the same for period low. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm just going to say new period low equals period low just before we reset that. So what we also need to do then is create two new variables up here. So I'm going to make this available, and I will add comments to it to make it a little bit more understandable. So new period high, new period low. What we now want to do is set some alerts so that if price throughout the time until the next channel has been established, price crosses the high or the low, then we need to do an alert. So that's quite easy to do. I'm just going to say if C crosses over, and you remember we set up this new variable in the last part of the program, over new period high, then alert, and then we can just put in whatever text we want to. I'm just going to put here upper trend line is broken. Doesn't really matter what you put there as long as you know what it is. Okay, semicolon, and we're going to do a similar thing for the, so we're going to say if C crosses under the new period low, which is the other variable we created, then alert lower trend line is broken. So I'm going to press F3 to verify that. Looks like we're good. So having done that, we then go back to the chart where this thing is set up, and we need to go format, find the analysis technique that we've been working on, and need to just make sure that alerts are enabled. And in this particular case, I'm just going to say alert once and clear on bar closed. Let's say close. And what you'll see now in the top left, we've got the little alert set up there. And then if during the day this price were to come into the channel and then go above it, or come into it and then go below it, then we would see the alert being triggered there. Okay, so that is the basic program, but there are a couple of things that we need to be careful of, and that is, in this particular case, we've set the times of 5 and 7. We know that there is a 5 bar and a 7 bar, but what about, for example, if we put this on a 3-minute chart? So I'm going to say format symbol, and we're going to change this from 10-minute to 3-minute. Okay, so let's do some start and end bars where there aren't any times. So let's, for example, there is no 5:10 bar. So let's say we're going to start at 5:10 and end at 7:10. So I'm just going to go format analysis technique, and I'm going to change the input to 05:10. We know there isn't a bar there, and 07:10. So let's just see how the program handles that. Okay, so what the program has done is it has started the line at 5:12, which is the first bar after what would have been the 5:10, and it has finished the channel at 7:12, which is the first bar after what would have been 7:10. Now, you can imagine a few improvements that you could make to this program. And in fact, one of the things that I've done, I'm going to include a slightly different version. And what this other version does is it continues the channels okay, so we're just seeing there's an alert on one of the charts as we're watching it. But what I've done is change the program a little bit so that we have the channel continuing until the new channel actually starts. In fact, this is slightly misleading because we do know that the old channel will continue in terms of being broken until the end time, and you could program it like that if you wish to, but I've just done it until the start of the new channel. And I've also changed the inputs a little bit, or I've added a couple of extra inputs so that we can have the option of doing this extension if you wish. And I've also allowed you to color the upper and the lower trend line. So a little bit of extra stuff there if you do decide to download the program, which you can do for a nominal fee at markplex.com. As I say, both programs are commented so that you can understand exactly what's going on, and hope you find it useful. See you soon. Bye bye.